Hey Buns, well, I have waited through the whole expansion to make this video. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to make it, but here we are in patch 5.5 and Viera and Hrothgar have not received a single new hairstyle in the course of the entire Shadowbringers expansion. The hat situation is pretty bad too. I know that a couple of pieces of headgear have been made available here and there in more recent patches, but for the most part, it's been fairly scarce. I always thought that you needed magic to pull a rabbit out of a hat, but apparently it's the other way around. It's putting the hat on the rabbit. That's the real trick. And you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? You were never promised more hairstyles, so what's the problem? But actually, I'm here today with the receipts, and we're going to talk about what was actually promised and what got cut, which was our cuts that got cut, our haircuts that were cut content. August 7th, 2019. This was the day of Live Letter 53, and everybody was in a good mood because it was before the dark times, and Shadowbringers had just released a month before, and Yoshida was asked, are there plans to add more hairstyles for Viera and Hrothgar? And he said, of course we'll continue to add new hairstyles, so please look forward to future patches. It still has to be race specific, so it won't match the pace of the other races, but there will be more hairstyles added. That is what we were told and promised by Yoshida back in 2019, and nothing has come of that. We have just been looking forward to it patiently for almost 2 years now, and now Hrothgar players even now still have to pay $10 for a Fantasia if they want to change their hairstyle to even one of the extremely limited options that they have. Hrothgar and Viera can buy and use hairstyle items, but it doesn't do anything for them. Like, I actually had a player in my Twitch chat last night saying that, he was a newish player and said he won a hairstyle from the new Near raid. These hairstyles are very expensive and go for quite a lot on the market board on my server, but excited, he used the hairstyle thinking, oh, this is how I get new hairstyles as a Hrothgar. And of course, it did nothing. I don't think that it's unreasonable for a newish player to assume that collecting hairstyles through drops or whatever, like that's how you build your hairstyle collection. When you go to the esthetician and you don't have any way to change the hairstyle, you might think, oh, I need to unlock this. I need to do content and get these drops. Like, why wouldn't you be excited about that if you had no messaging indicating otherwise and you're not like super plugged into YouTube videos and forums and stuff? Honestly, it's embarrassing that it's in this state after so long. If you play a Viera or Hrothgar and you buy a costume set on the cash shop that includes a hairstyle or maybe a special hat, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to wear that hat, and you're definitely not going to be able to use the hairstyle. And yeah, it does say so on the cash shop listing, but you pay the same amount as everyone else and you get less for that, and no one seems bothered by it. I guess people are just not complaining enough about it, but I'll do it. I'll do it. Which brings us to the question of, well, is it technical limitations? Is it that infamous spaghetti code striking again? Well, at Tokyo Fan Fest in 2019, Yoshida was asked about the new race's heads and how headgear would work for them. He said that helmets would not be displayed because those face parts wouldn't work in Final Fantasy XIV's system if headgear were involved. Even Viera ears would have had to be moved down to where Mikote ears are. It would have been meaningless if you couldn't go all out creating characters from these new races, so we decided that helmets wouldn't be necessary. You can equip them, but they won't be displayed. However, things that replace the head are okay, like the snowman head, fat chocobo head, etc. No glasses. Now, obviously, if you play now, you know that Viera and Hrothgar can wear glasses, circlets, some crowns, and even some hoods now. So who told Yoshida that those face parts wouldn't work in 14's system if headgear were involved and that glasses were pretty much impossible? How did he get that impression if that is clearly not the case? Because 2 months after he said this, he announced that glasses, circlets, and the like would be coming, as the character team took it upon themselves to use their spare moments to make it so without telling him. More than 540 such items were modified by our designers so that all would display correctly with our new face models. Now, I take my hat off to the devs that worked on this in their free time, even though there's some mixed messaging here. Why did they need to work on this in their spare time? Was this on the clock? Did they worry that maybe he would say no, so they did it without asking? Like, I understand that this was a low priority near the start of an expansion, but why did it remain so low priority? And it still feels very low priority even now. We were told that more things would be made compatible over time, but old items that didn't work at launch still do not work, and newer headgear that was added throughout the expansion, I mean, some works, but a lot of it doesn't. We were never promised that all the headgear would work, so yes, I mean, I am happy with what we have gotten so far, and I definitely don't want the devs to work themselves silly over it, definitely not in their spare time, but I'm willing to wait as long as necessary. I just would like some better communication on this. Now, I'm going to preface this next part by saying that I do not recommend that you use mods, because mods are against the terms of service and will therefore jeopardize your account. But there are people who are very clearly passionate about this subject and who may or may not have made all headpieces and all existing hairstyles available for Hrothgar and Viera. People who are willing to go to such great lengths and risk their accounts to make such a thing possible, at least for their own personal private enjoyment and immersion. Like, I'm not going to show modded screenshots on this channel, as I definitely don't want to encourage it, as I emphatically stated before, but I'm just saying that where there's a will, there's a way, and I just wish there was more of that will on the part of Square Enix side of things, so people would not be tempted to go and download third-party tools. Some people say that we haven't got any new hairstyles because of the pandemic, and it is definitely true that COVID derailed some things, but the question is that one of them? Back in July of 2020, Yoshida was very transparent about how COVID had affected the production schedule. He said that the 2-month setback the game suffered was to prevent cutting content or sacrificing the quality of work. He said that he believed we can make up for this delay with the quality of future patches and our coming expansion, and it really seemed like everything was going to be running smoothly again, and it has for the most part, with one notable exception being Ultimate, of course, which was scheduled to drop in patch 5.5 but was pushed back to 6.1. And I mention that because if they ever promise something that they can't deliver, they're always very transparent about it. They explain why it couldn't happen. And with the Ultimate delay, Yoshida, he went into a lot of detail. He explained part of the technical process that goes into the battle design and why they need such close communication between the playtesters and the devs, and why that was especially hit hard by the pandemic. It was clear that he wanted us to understand why this was pushed back so much, why we were not going to get the thing that we were promised that he knew we wanted, and he always does that. So that's why the situation with the Viera and Hrothgar, it sticks out like such a sore thumb, and it's so jarring and so weird. If the pandemic affected some things and the Hrothgar and Viera situation was one of them, why not just tell us that? Just say, yeah, that's one of the things that we had to cut to keep the trains running, literally. Or at least explain to us why it's so labor intensive, that we couldn't even squeeze in one new hairstyle for either race in the entirety of the expansion. Yes, there's patch 5.55 coming up, maybe, but I really doubt it. One cynical take would be to ask, are they just trying to sell more fantasias? I don't think so personally, but it's kind of worth asking when, like I said, Hrothgar needs a Fantasia potion to change his hairstyle, but more likely that Hrothgar is buying the Fantasia to switch to a different race. At the very least, to say, please be patient for the future. We know we promised this, but it wasn't able to happen because of this or that. Anything. We can't do it now, but maybe someday in the future we can squeeze it into our schedule. Just let us know what you're up to. Let us know what you're up to. Maybe they plan to fix it with Endwalker, and that's been a reason for some of the silence on this subject, but we didn't hear about it at the announcement showcase, and I'm starting to expect silence on this topic more than news at this point. Maybe they're keeping quiet because they're actually really busy working on male Viera and female Hrothgar, and if that's the case, hey, I take it all back. I'm so sorry. I completely understand. And I'm sorry I ever doubted you, Yoshida. I should have kept the faith. I should have kept looking forward, but in my foolishness, I was only looking back. None of what I've said will matter if that's the case, so maybe we'll see a digital fan fest. Though really, but even if that was the case, it would have been cool to at least say, well, we're working on something else, so... Or would have that been too much of a hint? I don't know. I'm not going to get excited about that because... in any case, I hope that we get at least some news about the state or plans for Viera and Hrothgar hairstyles and headgear going forward into the new expansion. Even if it's not something that we would all necessarily want to hear, like, sorry, but there's just no way we can do this ever. We were serious about, like, Viera and Hrothgar head shapes are just so weird that nothing, like, everything breaks when you put it there. I mean, anything, any news on the subject, I think would help us because right now, it's hard to know if it's a priority at all, and it definitely doesn't feel like one. Do you play Hrothgar or Viera, and is this an issue that actually drives you insane? Are you somber without your sombrero? Yes! I was like wanting to pull that one out the whole video. Got it in at the end. Let me know in the comments section down below. I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow Warriors of Light. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!